Hey guys, welcome to the Clarity Room podcast. So, my name is Elyn Clayr, and I have decided to finally start a podcast. This is actually one of my goals and things on my vision board that I've been wanting to do. It's basically now October, and I still haven't started one, so I think it's time to start one. Welcome to the Clarity Room podcast, the space for real talk, mindset shifts, and digital business growth. I'm your host, Elyn Clayr, an entrepreneur and a digital mentor, and I'm currently navigating the ups and downs of being in my 20s. I'm also currently building an online business and trying to build my dream life on my own terms. This is a safe space to build clarity in your life, grow your confidence, and take action towards your dreams. And hey, it's not always formal and serious. You'll also find some fun and lighthearted episodes along the way. So let's dive in. The Clarity Room name basically came about because my name is Elyn Clayr and most of my close friends call me Claire. It is basically like a pun, a play on word, but also I'm creating clarity in my life while navigating through my 20s. So this podcast is going to be all about lifestyle, but also business and mindset and all the things. I don't want to limit it to just be about business stuff, but also like I want to eventually talk about life, friendships, and anything that anyone in their 20s like encounters. I also work professionally as a medical lab technician here in New Zealand. I also started an online digital business when I was 21. I did just turn 23 and I spent my birthday week up in Auckland, which is a big city here in New Zealand, and that is basically what inspired me to take action today because I've been putting it off for the past few months. And basically, I went to a Girls in Business event, which is the biggest women's in business event here in New Zealand. And the girl sitting next to me basically said she had her own podcast, and I was very, very inspired to see someone else who's working full time but also pursuing something that they're passionate about. So I think I told myself that it was basically time. Also, this is my very first episode and I wanted to be comfortable, but I literally just filmed a get ready with me and put on a bunch of makeup, which is usually not what I do, but I did accessorize and put this cute hat on that my partner got me while we were thrifting. And I just spent the last 5 minutes figuring out how I can hold this mic aesthetically, but I'm just like, maybe I should just put it on the desk and talk to it like this. So I hope I'm not too awkward, but yes, let's basically get into it. So, just like I said, I want this podcast to be talking about mindset and also like my online digital business, what I do, and how I can help you guys as well. But at the same time, I want to share my story and possibly get others on in the future, as I do have a bit of experience like interviewing others, especially in our global community in my online business. I basically connect with other people, not just from New Zealand, but from all over the world and help them share their story as an entrepreneur here in the online space. I also want to inspire people by talking about clarity, confidence, and all about taking action because those are the three things that I've definitely had to work on in the past 2 years. And since I started my online business, basically. I also just want to say that a little bit of this podcast is going to be about self growth and, of course, navigating through my 20s because I did just graduate university. I'm 23 now. I started an online business when I was 21, and I've always wanted to be like a YouTuber, a content creator, something rather. But I did have a YouTube channel when I was in year 9 and I was about 14 at the time. I grew it to 200 subscribers, which looking back now is actually crazy. I did have a friend do it with me, but we both stopped after about a year. And I had another friend who kind of judged me for doing it, and she was a bit embarrassed to like tell her friends that I was doing it. So I got a bit shy and stopped. And looking back now, I would have grown my account to something so big if I didn't stop because it would be about a decade now. I was subscribed to many small YouTubers back in the day who still do YouTube, and they've grown to such a big channel and have created such an amazing brand and have this set audience. So I think it's a sign that I just need to start and continue because I have privated all of my videos on YouTube. So I think it's a sign to just start uploading, start doing it for me. And I've definitely grown a lot since then. So my vision for this podcast is basically everything I said earlier: life, mindset, business, but also like navigating through my 20s. And it's basically just going to be a new era for me. So, like I said, I put on my vision board, which is actually behind me. I've put on my vision board and goals that I've always wanted to start a podcast this year, and I think it's definitely a sign to get started before the year ends. I think it's definitely going to be a new era for me as well because it's a different platform that I'm putting myself out there. So, shout out to you if you are listening or watching this. And I hope you enjoy me yapping about my life. So, just a little bit about me. I went to Massey University and I studied a Bachelor of Science majoring in chemistry. I studied for about 3 years and I initially wanted to do postgrad, but honestly, the only reason why I wanted to do it was because I didn't want to move on to the next chapter of my life. And like being a student became my personality. Like it was what I knew how to do. Obviously, the transition from like high school straight to university for another 3 years, and like I did not want to leap into like the new chapter straight away. So I was definitely set on like wanting to do postgrad and more studies. I originally wanted to do like research in organic chemistry, but that just didn't work out. I also was selected for a $7,000 scholarship. Um, but the university didn't have funds for it, and I don't want to call them out, but it's like the truth. So it's definitely like in this chapter of my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do. It definitely felt like a rejection at the time, but I knew that like God was definitely like redirecting me to something else. And I did end up doing what I was most scared about. So looking for a new job that was full time and going into the career field. I ended up getting a lab job in the medical field in the hospital where I live. And the first department that I was in for about 5 months was definitely like not something that I wanted to do. All I was doing was like scanning barcodes and basically dealing with samples and not really doing anything to like grow myself. But it was a good starting point because a lot of like freshly new graduates were there, and I met like a few young people that were in the same department as me, which was really, really nice because we were all in the same boat basically. And if you don't already know, like here in New Zealand, you have to wait about 6 months to graduate. So I initially finished school in November 2023 and I graduated in May 2024. But at the time, I was already working like a couple of months. So it was that transition with graduating from being a university student to like working full time, which was definitely a big change. I kind of skipped a couple months, but in the summer that I was trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life, I was working nearly full time in Burger King. My manager had promised me full time hours, but obviously that was not the case. And I was living paycheck to paycheck off like $300 a week because I was only getting like less than 20 hours, which is not full time, obviously. So that's when I decided that I really needed something to change in my life, and living paycheck to paycheck was not it. And at the time, like I said, I was only working part time. So I had a lot of hours in my hand. I had a lot of time and hours in my hand, and my partner was working full time. So I was basically by myself the entire summer. I would take myself out, and I really enjoyed my company. I would go to the river and swim by myself. I would take myself on dates, coffee dates, go for walks, and all the things. But I really wanted like a hobby or something to do. That's when I realized that I wanted to start something in the online space, and I had reached out to my mum, who has been doing her online business since 2019. And basically, I grew up with the online business because of her having it in the household, but it was never something that I wanted to do because I never wanted to put myself out there. And like I said, I did have experience with YouTube, but it was just like completely different with like an online business, affiliate marketing, digital marketing, because you're actually getting people to like work with you, if that makes sense. Whereas if you're a YouTuber, you're literally just like putting content out there. And anyways, I plugged into the platform and I really learnt the system. I finished the training in about a week and a half, which most of the time people take about 3 to 4 weeks if they have a full-time job. But since I had so much time, I finished it very quickly, and I learnt the compensation plan and all the things. And I knew that this business was literally the key of like getting out of the rat race. So anyways, we'll get into other episodes of like what my online business is all about, but since then I've grown my business to a nearly 5-figure business here in the online space, and my biggest payday was actually bigger than my normal paycheck as a lab technician for over 2 weeks because we get paid fortnightly. So this is definitely like a side hustle and something that like supplements my income, but only doing it part-time and also like something that I have on the side. Obviously, it's currently my plan B, but I think eventually I would want it to be my plan A. So let's just talk about how I got here in the first place. Like I said, I have always wanted to do some type of content creation, and something about being a YouTuber just made me like, I don't know. Like, I've always loved watching YouTube when I was back in high school, but I never wanted to put myself out there. I feel like I didn't really gain confidence until I was in university, which was only a few years ago. And now I'm really finding myself as a person. In high school, I was definitely more introverted than I am now. I'm very extroverted and I will talk to strangers just to have a fun and light conversation. I always kept to myself and not really wanted to meet new people, but that's definitely not the case now. Like I said, recently I went to a girls in business event where I got to meet with like-minded women from New Zealand, and it was the best thing, honestly, because it just reminded me that no one actually cares what you do, and people aren't judging you as much as you think they are, because they're too focused on themselves. And half the time they think people are judging them. So I think that's just the biggest takeaway for me as well. And also, like, the life that I want isn't just gonna magically arrive on my lap. It's not just gonna land on my lap. That's what I'm trying to say. I think this is definitely like the path that I'm choosing at the moment. And the biggest thing is like working for myself and doing things for myself means that I don't have to do things for someone else. And also owning an online business means like I'm literally the CEO of my digital business. So I have to take charge of like my own schedule, my content creation, and all the things, which is literally like something I've always been good at. I'm pretty good at managing my own time and being organized. But yeah, also shout out to my friends who have always supported me in my digital business, but also like being or wanting to be a content creator and also like wanting to start a podcast, because I've always told them that I've always wanted to start a podcast, but I just haven't got round to it. And me and my friends have also made like a podcast video before, which I will eventually upload, but I would love to have them on here sometime in the near future. Talk about life, talk about friendships, talk about navigating our lives in our 20s, which I think will be such a cool episode. So it's definitely not just going to be about business and mindset, but just about life in general, which I think a lot of people will be able to relate to. So if you're definitely watching this and you're in your 20s and you're currently navigating your life with me, then thank you so much for being here, because we're all in the same boat. And I feel like when you realize that other people are in the same boat as you, you will not feel alone, if you know what I mean. So, yes. Anyways, I think that is pretty much going to be the wrap up of episode 1. I just wanted to introduce myself and give a little introduction, give a little stuff about me, if you know what I mean. So, yes, thank you so much for listening or watching. And lastly, I just wanted to put like my little motto out there. When I started my online business, I came up with this, and it's basically make that change because you deserve it. Make that little change because nothing is going to change if you don't change anything in your life. And welcome to the Clarity Room podcast. I will see you guys on my next podcast episode. Bye guys, have a good day.